The co-working lobby was cool, the coffee machine was hissing with steam, the receptionist was scrolling through his phone. I went down to get a box of adapters and saw a guy in a cheap jacket. He was holding an envelope with both hands. Daniel Hale. Yes, it has been handed to you. He shoved the envelope in and walked out the door without even looking me in the eye. The form read, at the top, Superior Court of Texas. Below that, Temporary Restraining Order. My wife's name was Kathy Hale. I ran my finger along the edge of the paper. My chest tightened. Not panic, but a dry tension, like before an important presentation when there's no time left. I walked into the empty conference room and sat down. I cut the corner of the envelope and took out the documents. I read them carefully, line by line. A ban on approaching, writing, calling, discussing. An appendix with her words, emotional control, hostile environment. Examples, my questions about meetings with Tyler Reed. I put the sheets on the table and exhaled. I wanted to call Katie and say, "Are you serious?" I squeezed the phone and didn't dial. A warrant is not a joke. Any call is a violation. The administrator looked through the door. "Everything okay, Dan?" "Yes, official papers, and one more thing. If Katie shows up, call 911 immediately." Accepted. I poured myself a black coffee and went back to my laptop. I opened my notes and wrote a title, Tro Plan. I don't like long speeches. I like lists that can be accomplished. The points were simple. 1 no contacts, 2 finances, 3 sureties, 4 documents and evidence. As I typed, my palms were shaking a little. I paused, rested my palms on the table, and took 10 deep breaths. This is how I always release excess tension. At home, silence and Katie's cup with a lipstick imprint were waiting for me. I didn't touch it. I took out my own, poured water, drank it in one gulp, and sat down at the laptop. First thing, American Express. I dialed the number, went through security questions. The operator spoke evenly, without curiosity. "How can I help you, Mr. Hale? Please remove the authorized user. Katie Hale. Immediately. Do you confirm that you understand the consequences?" I confirm. 3 minutes, and her card turned into empty plastic. I noted the time and the application number. It's calmer this way. There's a record, there's control. Then came the bank. There was enough money for 2 weeks of life in the joint account. I transferred the funds to my personal account, which I opened a year ago when I realized that Katie's business was unstable and our borders too. In the comments to the transfer, I indicated personal funds. It's unpleasant to look at zero, but an empty account means fewer problems tomorrow. Next, an automatic payment to her company, $2,500 every month for development. I clicked cancel. Not out of anger, out of obligation to myself. The phone vibrated. The number was unfamiliar. "This is Alyssa Bloom, Katie's attorney. I suggest a brief meeting at a neutral location this evening." I took a screenshot, saved it. I didn't write a response. The warrant says no, it means no. The next step was the credit union. I found an old surety agreement for her warehouse and van. It seemed right then. We are a family, I will support. Now I looked at the numbers and saw the risk. I wrote a letter. "Please consider revoking the surety due to a change in circumstances. Please suspend any actions that affect my liability until further notice." The same text to the leasing company. Attached scans, case number for the warrant. Sent. Marked in notes. Then I stood up and did 20 push-ups on the kitchen floor. I needed to get the blood flowing. I'm not a bodybuilder, but physical training helps me. After the push-ups, the noise in my head became quieter. I went to the shower and turned on the cold water for a minute. My head cleared up even more. Back at my desk, I found myself wanting to open Instagram and see what Katie had up to. I didn't. I know how the spiral works. Instead, I opened my email and wrote to a lawyer a coworker had recommended to me, Jordan Park. We'd discussed a corporate contract a couple of weeks ago. I liked him because he was short and to the point. "Jordan, good evening. Received Tro. Need urgent help. Ready to act on your instructions. Attached is a copy." Sent. Set a timer for 15 minutes so as not to check my email every minute. When the timer rang, there was already a letter in the inbox. Tomorrow, 9:30. Nothing to discuss before the meeting. Save everything: screenshots, emails, calls. JP. I sat on the couch and stared at one spot. Irritation rose in waves. I wanted to text her. Are you really calling questions about Tyler abuse? I clenched my fists, then unclenched them. I would not throw words that would later become evidence against me. I would not give her this material. At 8 in the evening, I went to the gym. I took a treadmill, set a medium pace. 10 minutes the body switched to breathing. I increased the speed. Notifications were playing in the headphones. I turned them off. After running rowing, my arms were burning, my shoulders were tired, my head became calm. I love the feeling of a completed approach. It cannot be interpreted either in court or in stories. These are just numbers on the display. The doorbell rang at home. Neighbor Thomas was holding a box with my name on it. Hey, Dan, I got your server stuff. The courier mixed it up. Is everything okay? Thanks, Tom. Fine. Busy day. You look tense. If you need a beer, I'm home. Thank you. Not today. He left. I put the box in the hallway and didn't open it. It was time to eat. I fried a chicken breast, cut up a salad, poured rice. I ate in silence, without the TV. It's easier to hear yourself that way. The phone blinked again. A message from the same number. We can meet. It will not be a violation if you agree. I took another screenshot. I will not argue about the interpretation of the law with a person who does not represent me. I took a notebook, not an electronic one, but a paper one. I wrote, "What am I feeling?" I wrote briefly, anger, offended by the wording, fear for my finances, fear for my reputation, shame in front of myself that I didn't notice earlier, readiness to act. I don't like long diaries, but it's useful to record my state. When the court asks what I did, I will have dates and words. It's important to me that every step is explainable. That night, I woke up to my phone vibrating. On the screen was a notification from Instagram. Madison Lee, that same friend of Katie's, had posted, "When financial abuse puts on a tie." I didn't read the comments. I took screenshots and emailed them to myself. Then I turned off the phone. I lay down again. Sleep didn't come right away. I started counting my breaths. I fell asleep on the 40th. In the morning at 7, I stopped by the bakery, took a large coffee and 2 croissants to the office. The same silence greeted me in the co-working space. The administrator nodded. I went up to my room, laid out the croissants for the guys, wrote in the general chat, "I'm on calls until 11. If it's urgent, knock," and went to Jordan. His office was in a drab building. The reception area smelled of paper and glass cleaner. Jordan came out on time, shook hands firmly and calmly. "You look tired, Mr. Hale," he said. "Sit down." I handed him the envelope and showed him the phone with the screenshots. "Okay," he said, looking over the documents. "Main line, you execute the order. You do not call, write, or meet. Any contacts must be through me. Financially, you have the right to protect your liability. You are not obligated to finance your spouse's business. Your job is to document. The calmer the paper, the stronger the position." "Got it," I said, my voice hoarse. "And one more thing. Don't interfere in discussions on social networks. No likes, no replies. You are an entrepreneur. Let your actions be about numbers, not about emotions in the public sphere. Keep emotions at home, in the hall, on paper." That's what I do. We made a list of outgoing letters on his behalf. He phrased it carefully, without jabs. "Please, we inform you. We ask you to confirm." It didn't sound weak. It sounded right. He explained that a warrant is often used as a pressure tool, but the court looks at the behavior of the parties. You are taking steps within the law, without hysteria, without provocation. The court will see that. I nodded. I wanted someone to tell me that I wouldn't go crazy if I stuck to this line. He said it with his actions. On the way back, I stopped at a car wash. It wasn't necessary. I just wanted to at least fix the car. When the wipers went over the glass, for the first time in 24 hours, I felt something like relief. Not joy, no. Just the feeling that I was holding the steering wheel. Returning to the co-working space, I took the old monitor and personal documents from my box. I put them in the trunk. At the counter, the administrator stopped me. "Someone came to see you yesterday evening. A woman asked when you would be there." I said I didn't know. "Thank you. If it's Katie, call me right away." I've already written it down on a piece of paper by the phone. At home, I opened the closet and began to pack Katie's things into 2 boxes. I dare not throw away someone else's, but it was hard to see her dress on my side. I folded it carefully, signed, Katie, wardrobe. If necessary, I will pass it on through a lawyer, without scenes and conversations at the door. In the evening, a letter came from the bank. "Your request has been received. A manager will contact you." This is a good sign. Another message came from an unknown person. He disabled my cards, although he should support me until the launch of a new line. I think the order will make him behave decently. Screenshot, save, no responses. I sat down at the table and wrote myself a list of rules, briefly. Don't call. Don't write. Don't read her social networks. Sleep at least 6 hours. Sports every other day. Record everything. I hung the list on the refrigerator. You can laugh, but I need simple reference points. When life slips, the list returns to 0. Before bed, I went outside. The neighbor's teenager was throwing a ball around. The sky was dark, but I didn't look at the stars. I thought about how we got to this point. When Tyler came back into her life, I didn't ask direct questions right away. I tried to be gentler than necessary. Now I ask myself, what do I control? I control my money, my words, my steps. That's enough for today. I closed the door, set the alarm, put the phone in the other room. I needed to sleep. In the morning, I woke up before the alarm. My head was heavy, but my thoughts were clear. Today, no amateur activities, everything through a lawyer. I did stretching on the mat, 20 squats, 20 push-ups. Shower. In the kitchen, I turned on the radio on a quiet background, cooked oatmeal, drank coffee without sugar. I turned on the phone at 9 when I could already pick up work calls. There were 2 missed calls from unknown numbers and a voicemail on the screen. I didn't open it right away. First, my email. There was a letter from Jordan. Sent notifications to your wife through her attorney, credit union, and leasing company. Asked to confirm the ban on any transactions without your written consent. In parallel, requests to preserve correspondence and financial documents. Do not respond to anyone directly. JP. I read it a second time. It became easier. There is an adult holding the frame. After that, I opened the voice. A woman's voice, soft, trained. "Mr. Hale, this is Alyssa Bloom. We need to clarify financial matters. Warehouse rent, payments to suppliers, corporate card. I suggest a short meeting in a public place. It will not violate the order if you agree. I await your response." I forwarded the audio to Jordan with one line, "Forwarded," and turned on the setting so that unknown numbers would automatically go to voicemail. My hands were shaking. I did 10 push-ups by the kitchen again. My head settled. I arrived at the office early. The team was pulling cables for a new stand. The guys were arguing about drivers. I joined the stand-up and said straight out, "I'm going through a difficult time at home. I'll be in touch, but personal issues take up some of my time. If something is urgent, write me a private message and put it here." The colleagues nodded. After the stand, Sam, 5 years older than me, quiet and reliable, approached me. "Dan, hold on. If you need to contact a good therapist, tell me. It helped me when I was getting divorced." "Thank you," I replied. "If it's not too much trouble, send it to me. I'm keeping up with lists and sports for now, but a conversation with a professional wouldn't hurt." At lunchtime, Sam and I went out for a salad. He spoke evenly, without any nutritional advice from the internet. He said something simple. "You don't have to prove to anyone that you're normal. Your task is to live in such a way that you don't feel ashamed of yourself." I nodded. It suited me. After lunch, a letter arrived from the credit union. We received your request. We are assigning a guarantor manager. Expect a call. 15 minutes later, a man with a southern accent called. This is Alvarez, Lakeview Credit Union. I saw your request. I understand you have a temporary restraining order. We will not process any paperwork without your participation. We have requested current reports from your wife's company. Can you please clarify when you signed the guarantee and under what conditions? A year ago, I said. At the request of my wife, house staging business. There were promises of contracts then. Now different circumstances. I asked that any extensions and changes be stopped. I heard you. We'll record it. If we receive a package of documents with your signature, we'll check it against the sample and contact you. Do you mind if we record this statement on the line? I don't mind. I hung up and immediately texted Jordan briefly. Credit union confirmed caution. Records available. The reply came quickly. Great, let's move on. At 3 o'clock, the radio in the communal kitchen switched to the local news. I was pouring water and heard the name Madison Lee. She had been invited as a local lifestyle influencer to discuss financial abuse in marriage. The host's voice was cheerful, her questions superficial. I grabbed a glass and left to avoid listening. Notifications flashed on my phone. I turned it off. I can't run down feeds. At 4, a report came from Jordan. I sent your wife's lawyer a formal confirmation that all questions are only through the court. There are attempts to bypass the order by referring to a neutral meeting. It is still contact. You are not answering correctly. And also, please continue to record social publications. If there is anything specific about money, especially about must support, send it immediately. At 5, I stopped by the house and printed out all the screenshots from Madison's Instagram. The post, the comments where she promises the truth that will shock Dallas, and the correspondence with Katie that she herself sent her at night. On one screenshot, Katie wrote, "He turned off my cards when he should be supporting me until the launch of the new decor line. I thought the order would make him behave." I put it in a separate folder and signed it. Social media, statements about should. I sent copies to Jordan. A minute later, he replied, "This is useful. Keep the originals for yourself. We'll add them to the package." I realized that I hadn't eaten anything hot since the night before. I boiled chicken in broth and chopped vegetables. Eating brings me back to normal. After dinner, I sorted out my home office. I took an empty box for documents and divided it into sections. Court, bank, leasing, social networks, notes. I put in color tabs. I needed an order that didn't depend on other people's posts. Aunt Maria called from Austin that evening. She's always on the make peace at any cost side. Her voice was soft, but I knew the move. "Danny, what's going on?" Katie called my eldest. She said you cut off her cards and she started a new line. "Is that too much?" "Auntie, I'm acting according to the law. We have a temporary restraining order. I can't discuss it. All questions through lawyers. I don't understand how you got to this point. You are good people. We are different people, and now we need distance. It is safe for everyone." Silence for a second. Then she said she hoped for peace and hung up. I exhaled. Sometimes good people don't need everything explained. It's enough to repeat the rules. At night, Madison posted a new story with the caption, "When financial abusers think the law is on their side." I took screenshots again and sent them to Jordan. He responded in the morning, "We are not responding yet, but I have prepared letters about preserving electronic traces. If there is slander with specific numbers, we will send requests to the platforms." On Saturday, I decided to do something I'd been putting off, cleaning out the garage. I pulled out old boxes, threw out broken tools, and found a bicycle pump. Working with my hands helps relieve excess anger. While I was cleaning out my garage, my dad called. He lives in Houston, and we don't talk as much as we should, but his tone is always direct. "I heard you had friction," he said without preamble. "How are you?" "Alive. I sleep badly, but I'm holding on. The lawyer is working. I don't contact Katie as the court ordered. Well done. Hold the line. At my age, I did stupid things when I was angry. Don't do what you want, do what's right. And write down every little thing on paper. Paper calms you down. That's what I'm doing, I replied. Thank you for calling. We talked for a few minutes about work and football. I hung up and felt the extra tension leave. I needed this short, normal conversation. After lunch, I went to the market near the farmer's market. I bought vegetables, bread, meat. I met my neighbor Layla. She asked why I was rarely seen at mutual friends' barbecues. Just busy, I said. I'll be back when things settle down. If you need to talk, she said, we've all had different stories. No one judges here. Come any night. I nodded. Support without questioning is what lasts. At home, I wrote out short weekly goals on a piece of paper. 1. Finish financial letters. 2. Meet with accountant. 3. Start therapy. 4. Sleep at least 6 hours 5 days out of 7. That evening, I made steak and vegetables and sat in the backyard. It was quiet. I wasn't trying to find hidden meaning. I needed the noise around me to stop for at least one evening. On Sunday, I called the number Sam had sent me a therapist named Caroline Walker. I made an appointment for Wednesday. The receptionist asked if I could talk about the divorce and warned me it was confidential. I need to talk things through so I don't freak out, I said, and keep the action focused. That's what we'll do, she replied. The co-working manager called during the day. Mr. Hale, we received a copy of your warrant from your attorney. Thank you for your notice. We have increased security at the entrance. If your spouse attempts to enter, we are required to call the police. Please provide photographs so that the front desk can immediately identify you. I'll send it now, I said. And one more thing. If any of your friends' subscribers will make a scandal in the lobby, also act according to protocol. I am not looking for a conflict. I understand. We have instructions. I sent the photos, Jordan's contact information, and sat down on the couch for a moment. My palms were cold. I did another 20 push-ups. My heart raced, my head cleared. By evening, a letter arrived from Jordan. From your wife's lawyer, an offer to negotiate the basic level of support. I replied, only through the court and only within the framework of the procedure. I reminded her that she herself describes your financial support as violence. This is recorded in their documents. We use their wording. You are doing the right thing by keeping silent publicly. The morning began with a short, breath-taking call. The phone vibrated, and on the screen was Lakeview Credit Union. Mr. Hale, the confident voice, the same one, Alvarez. We need your help. We received a package of documents to extend your guarantee for your wife's business. The signature, almost like this. Our guys say almost, and almost is not yes. Could you come by today? I looked at my watch. It was 9:15. I answered without pause. I'll be there in 40 minutes. Thank you. I'll alert security. And one more thing. The package was delivered in person. A woman introduced herself as Marlene Carter. Is this your relative? Katie's mother, I said. I'll be with you at 10. I hung up and sat on the edge of my bed for a minute. My throat was dry. It was a mixture of anger and cold shame that someone I had known for years was bringing me a paper with my almost signature. I did 10 push-ups on the floor, quickly washed my face with ice water to stop the shaking, threw on jeans and a gray shirt. On the way, I called Jordan. Credit union, renewal package, signature, almost like this. Are you going there? He asked. Yes. Good. Don't sign anything. Don't take anything. Ask for copies, write down dates and names. Tell them that you intend to file a police report for attempted forgery. This will make them write the report correctly. Then email everything to me straight away. Received. The Lakeview Credit Union branch was a brick building with a flag hanging out front. It was cool inside, smelling of paper and coffee from their little machine. I was greeted by a short man in a light jacket with a Miguel Alvarez badge. I'm glad you're so quick. he said. Let's go to the conference room. In the room behind the glass wall, a woman from the security service was already sitting, introducing herself as Miss Danvers. On the table lay a folder with papers. "Here's the package," Alvarez said. "Guarantor consent for extension. And here's a signature, supposedly yours. Look." I leaned over. I saw my name, a familiar curl at the end. The handwriting was similar, but the lines were too even, as if they had been drawn from a template. My usual autograph is done in one breath. Here the hand seemed to have stopped several times. "That's not my signature," I said calmly, "and I didn't agree to any extensions. My wife and I have a temporary restraining order. Any questions must go to court." Miss Danvers looked up. "Are you ready to give us samples of your signature so we can verify them?" "Yes." They brought me a sheet of lines. I signed 5 times, as I usually do. They put it next to me and started marking angles and slopes with a pen. "See," Danvers said, "you have the characteristic pressure at the beginning and the drift to the right on the letter D. Not here. It's a straight school line. And here the dots almost show the trace of the copier, as if they were traced." Alvarez put on his glasses and added, "The documents were brought by a woman, an elderly, confident woman. My son-in-law is very busy. You know how men are," she said. "We took the package, but we didn't process anything without your inspection." "Thank you for stopping me," I replied. "Please register this as a suspicion of forgery. I'll file a police report." "We've already prepared an internal memo," Alvarez said. "Would you like a copy of the package and our memo?" "Yes. And please note who accepted the documents, the time, and the description of the visitor." They wrote everything down. I took a photo of each page and sent it to Jordan with a timestamp. Then I asked, "May I know what the exact amount or terms are in this extension?" "An extension of the surety for a year. The amount is the same, but a clause has been added about a penalty for the early exit of the surety," Alvarez said. "This clause was not in your original contract." I smiled without joy. Convenient for them. We shook hands. Alvarez said he would contact the police on his channel and give them copies. I took the folder and went outside. In the parking lot, I got into my car, put my head on the steering wheel for 10 seconds, and just breathed. I wanted to scream. I don't scream. I call my lawyer. "I saw it," Jordan said when I got through. "Go to the nearest precinct and file a report of attempted forgery. State that you learned of it under such and such circumstances, name the witnesses, Alvarez and Danvers. Include copies, ask for the case number. Then come to me." The police station was quiet. They were changing shifts. A sergeant of about 50 was sitting at the counter, stern, with a short haircut. "How can I help you?" "I need to file a complaint about an attempt to forge a signature on bank documents." She nodded. "Sit down. Fill this out. Who you are, when did you find out, who might be involved." I wrote carefully, without emotion in the wording. "Today, 10/18 Lakeview Credit Union. Surety renewal paperwork. Not signed by me. Papers brought by Marlene Carter, my wife's mother. Verification. Manager Miguel Alvarez, Miss Danvers, Security. Attachments. Copies of forms, internal bank memo, my signature samples." I was invited into the office by a young detective who introduced himself as Cole Peters. "I understand it's unpleasant," he said. "This is a criminal case. If it's confirmed, we'll request video from the bank's cameras, check the signature. Do you mind if we contact your lawyer?" "No problem. His contacts are here. And one more thing. If there are new attempts to sign on your behalf, come to us straight away. Even if the paper comes by mail. Don't do anything yourself, just record it." He entered the data into the system and printed out a ticket. "Here is your case number. If they need acceleration for the bank, let them call us and give us the number." I took the paper. My throat was dry, but it was easier to breathe. It wasn't a feeling of victory, it was a feeling of not standing still. I went outside, got into the car, and called my father. "I filed a report of forgery at the police station," I said. "You did the right thing," he replied. Don't put it off for later. Paper is your best friend when emotions hit you in the head. I already understand. On the way home, I stopped at a hardware store and bought a small fireproof safe. At the checkout, the cashier asked, "Keep the documents." Yes, it's time to keep everything in one place. At home, I put my passports, certificates, an old marriage contract, all the printed copies of letters and orders, and a flash drive with backups in a safe. I stuck a piece of paper with the date on it. I'm not paranoid, I'm tired of chaos. After lunch, there was a session with a therapist, Caroline Walker. The office was on the second floor of a small building, a white lamp in the corner, a chair without unnecessary softness. She smiled and offered water. What do you want to get out of these meetings? She asked. Plans that will keep me sane, I said, and a place to speak out loud without consequences. Good. Tell me what's important today. I told her about the bank and the almost signature, about how anger in me can quickly gain momentum, but I suppress it with actions, letters, sports, order, about how it's shameful when people from your circle go down this path. She listened without interrupting, then asked, what are your boundaries? Where do you put no? No to contacts outside of court, no to financing her business, no to talking to her people who are trying to soften the angle. Okay? And where is your yes? Yes is a lawyer, police, sports, sleep, work, support of a couple of friends, and a father. She nodded. I advise you a simple structure. 3 columns. Not under my control. Under my control today. Under my control in the future. And when you are drawn to your phone or comments, return to the columns. You seem to be a person of action. Let's use this. We talked for 40 minutes. She gave me quick tools. Breathe 4-4-4-4 before an important call. Set a timer so I don't get caught up in social media if I do, and talk myself through what I'm doing before I do it. It sounds simple, but it works when there's no one around to catch me. One more thing, she said as she left. It's normal for you to feel angry. What matters is what you do next. On the way back, I stopped at a communications store and switched to a new number. I've left the old one for 2 banks for now, but I won't give it to anyone else in my contacts. I set up filters in my mail. Letters from the lawyer go into a separate folder, from the bank into another, everything else goes on leave. I met Sam in a coffee shop near the park in the evening. He saw my gaze and immediately understood. What's happened? They tried to extend my guarantee without me. The signature is almost mine. Damn, he said calmly. I'm glad you went to the police. How are you feeling? I'm angry and tired, but today was the day I did everything right. We talked about work, about how we were doing with the release. He asked if I wanted to go to the lake for a couple of hours on the weekend, just ride bikes. I said I'd think about it. In fact, I already knew I'd need it. I started Monday with accounting. I made an appointment with our family accountant, Priya Patel. We had worked together on taxes for a couple of years, and she always spoke without embellishment. Priya's office is in a small block on the first floor of a shopping mall. A glass door, a CPA license on the wall, neat stacks of folders on her desk. Sit down, she said. I got your mail. So you want to completely separate your personal finances from everything related to your wife's business? Yes. I've already disconnected it from my card, stopped auto payments, notified the bank and leasing company. Plus, we have a temporary order in effect. I don't contact Katie. Okay? Then here's a list of actions for the next few days. First, freeze your credit report in 3 bureaus. It's not a panacea, but it reduces the risk. Second, check all your automatic payments for the last 12 months. Maybe there's something left. Third, keep a separate contact log with dates, names, and brief summaries of the conversation. This will be useful in court and for you. I'm already keeping a journal, I said. I'll do the bureau stuff today. Priya opened her laptop. And one more thing. I understand that it is morally difficult, but you should not save other people's contracts. If suppliers call you because you once paid, answer briefly. I am not a party to the business. All questions should be addressed to the company owner or my lawyer. And record the call. Accepted. She asked about income, current expenses, and the mortgage. We made a simple budget for 3 months. Co-working rent, utilities, food, mortgage payments, a little for sports and car maintenance. Your goal is predictability, Priya said. We'll hold off on any major decisions until the court. And yes, consider temporarily blocking large transfers on your account. There's a confirmation threshold feature. I nodded. We signed a couple of forms to exchange information with the bank. On the way out, she stopped me at the door. Don't confuse boundaries with cruelty. You are not obliged to finance something you have no control over. I got back in the car and immediately froze my credit reports via apps on the way. Then I stopped by the office. The guys were fiddling with a new API, and there was a list of bugs on the board. I sat down in my room, turned on the Do Not Disturb mode, and sorted through my mail. Among the letters were 3 from unfamiliar addresses with the subject urgent. I opened one. We supply your wife with textiles. We received information that payments are delayed. We ask for your confirmation. I wrote back briefly. I am not involved in Kathy Hale's business and am not authorized to comment. All inquiries should be addressed to this attorney's address. I included Jordan's contact information. I sent the same response to 2 more suppliers. Then I called Jordan and warned him that he would be receiving letters. Send me copies, he said. You are doing the right thing by not arguing and not making promises. If someone puts pressure or threatens, record it. Around lunchtime, a number I'd had in my phone since last summer called Ron Haulage. He'd hauled furniture for Katie's projects a couple of times. Dan, this is Ron. Listen, our guys didn't go on the trip. They haven't been paid for 2 weeks. I don't want to butt in, but you've plugged holes like this before. Any chance? I took a breath to keep from bursting into explanations. Ron, I understand your situation, but I am no longer funding Katie's business. I have a restraining order. I can't discuss it. All questions through a lawyer. I'll send you the contact now. Pause. He sighed. Okay, got it. Sorry for pulling you. I just feel sorry for the guys. Me too, but I can't. Sorry. I hung up and sat in silence for a minute. It felt bad inside. These people had done their job and weren't getting paid. I logged the call, sent Jordan's contact to Ron, and went into the kitchen. I set the timer for 3 minutes and watched the kettle boil. I had to stop guilt from pushing me into the old, pay up so everyone else can have it easy today and I can have it worse tomorrow pattern. After dinner, Sam wrote, Let's go to the stadium tonight. Just run up and down the stairs. My head is spinning. He replied, There at 7. I agreed. At 3, another call came in. The woman introduced herself as Sheila from the decor rental company. Mr. Hale, we signed a contract for the supply for the season. We don't have your guarantee, but you confirmed the payment earlier. The girl from your wife's office says that the delay is technical. We don't ship without prepayment. We wanted to clarify your position. I neither confirm nor deny anything. I am not a party. Please send all inquiries in writing to the lawyer. And please make a note that any formulations like technical delay are not with me. Received. Sorry for disturbing you. I made another entry in the journal. Then I opened my notes and added a line. Do not explain repetitions. Short template answer. I made up a text for myself for the future, so as not to look up the words each time. At 4, I received a screenshot from a Facebook group for realtors. It was forwarded by a colleague's wife. I don't know if this is related to you, but I'll keep you posted. The screenshot was Tyler Reed's post. Open houses on hold this month. Dealing with custody issues. Thanks for your understanding. I saved the image to my context folder. I had no desire to write to Tyler. I'm not his person. At 5, Nathan, a mutual friend, texted me, drove past Bishop Avenue. Your showroom has a sale sign in the window. Is everything okay? I replied, I can't discuss it. Thanks for the info. He sent a photo of the window. I saved it and sent it to Jordan. It's useful, came the answer. It indirectly confirms the financial state of the business. But we don't draw conclusions head on. We just put the puzzle together. That evening, Sam and I went up to the stadium. We silently did 10 sets of stairs, 10 up, 10 down. By the 8th set, my ears were ringing, but my head was clear. When we caught our breath, Sam said, "You know what a lawyer once told me? Don't confuse sympathy with duty. You can feel sorry for people, but that doesn't turn you into a wallet." "Yes," I said. "I've been repeating that to myself every 2 hours today." We sat in the stands, drank water, talked about football. I caught the calm pace of the conversation, in which there were no other people's demands. At home, I checked my banking apps. I found a small $49 auto payment for a subscription to a photo stock that had once been issued for her projects. I canceled it. I copied the confirmation to a folder. Then I went through the subscriptions and services list again. I disabled everything that didn't clearly relate to my work. I didn't want to make a rash decision, but I wanted some distance between my card and her spending. That night, an email arrived from the warehouse landlord addressed to the responsible parties. CC'd my old business address. "Please confirm your payment plan for next month. Failure to do so will result in a penalty." I wrote briefly, "I am not a party. For any questions, contact the business owner and my attorney. Contact details are attached." A minute later, an automated message. "Thank you, your request has been received." I closed the windows one by one and felt irritated. Not angry, but tired. It was like bursting bubble after bubble. But that's exactly what you need, one little thing after another. On Tuesday morning, someone sent a link to Madison's story in our team's general chat. "When financial abuse destroys women's dreams." I didn't open it. I wrote to the guys, "Please, no such links in the work chat." They apologized. I opened a direct message and saw a message from Madison. "Say at least something manly. Do you think silence is beautiful?" I deleted it without opening it and turned on a filter for unknown people. Alvarez from the credit union called in the afternoon. "Just a quick update, Mr. Hale. We've confirmed that the package with your signature was delivered by Marlene Carter. We have the video. We've passed it on to Detective Cole Peters. An internal investigation is open. We won't be extending anything without your presence." "Thank you," I said. "If you need more signature samples, let me know." Agreed. And, hold on. I don't give advice off topic, but you're moving in the right direction. I hung up and smiled for the first time that day, not from joy, from the fact that someone on the other end was doing work too. After lunch, I met up with our old IT contractor, Ryan. We had coffee at Houndstooth. He asked about the release, then asked cautiously, "I heard Katie's having a hard time. Is it okay if I don't take her orders while she's uncertain? I don't want to be caught in the middle." "Do as you think is right," I said. "I'm not interfering. And thank you for asking in person and not through rumors." He nodded. We discussed plans for the quarter and parted ways. I noted in my mind that the people around her were carefully distancing themselves from her project. Not because I asked, but because they saw the risks. It was part of the process that was happening on its own. I was at the GP on Wednesday morning. Caroline asked what was new. Supplier's right. The window display is a sale. One of the drivers asked to pay off debts. I hold the line, but it's unpleasant inside. "Unpleasant doesn't mean I have to pay," she said. "You can feel compassion without going over the line. What did you do to deal with that feeling?" Sports, order in papers, short answers without explanations. And I also stopped reading her circle. I put filters. Good. Add one more thing, ready-made phrases, so as not to explain. You already have a letter template. Make the same for calls. 2 or 3 lines, and close the conversation. We rehearsed several options. "I'm sorry about your situation. I'm not a party. The lawyer's contact is here." Simple words that hold the line. After the session, I stopped by the store, bought containers and folders. At home, I finalized the physical archives. Incoming, outgoing, copies. I know how my head works. If things are in their places, it becomes quieter inside. By lunchtime, a letter arrived from the landlord of the showroom. Due to arrears, access to the property will be restricted unless payment is received by Friday. I forwarded it to the lawyer. Jordan's response was spot on. This is not your area. We do not interfere, but we will add the letter to the package. My younger cousin Alex from Fort Worth called in the evening. Hey, did you hear? Madison is announcing a big reveal on Saturday. Like a live broadcast, the whole truth. Want me to write it in the comments? No, I said. Please don't touch me. The less noise around my name, the better. If you want to help, just don't do anything. Okay, hang in there, brother. I hung up and thought that the silence of friends is also help. Not everyone understands this. By the end of the week, I could see the changes in myself. My expenses were more transparent. I went to bed earlier. I did morning exercises, and in the evening, a short jog or the stairs. I hadn't become a different person. I had simply removed the unnecessary. I still got irritated when letters from strangers arrived with strangers' demands. But now I had templates, folders, and a detective's number. It didn't make life easy, but it made it manageable. On Friday, Jordan sent a summary. Motion filed to court to secure restraining order against any financial actions on your behalf without your presence. Attempts to extend surety and public statements of must support noted. Waiting for hearing date. In parallel, letters to suppliers on your behalf stating that you are not a party. I read it, exhaled, and closed my laptop. I wasn't happy about other people's problems. I wasn't happy about the sales signs hanging in the shop window. I just saw a chain of causes and effects. I stopped paying for a business I didn't control. The business that depended on my translations started to give in. This isn't revenge. These are facts. On Saturday morning, I collected a packet of papers for the fireproof safe, checked if I had forgotten anything. Then I went to the market, bought vegetables, fish, bread. I met my neighbor Layla with her children. We talked about the weather and schools. It was a normal human conversation where no one expected me to take a position. I returned home, cooked dinner, and sat down in the backyard. The silence wasn't perfect, but it became mine. By evening, another screenshot came from friends. Madison advertising the sale of the century in Katie's showroom. I saved it and again did nothing. This is not my sale and not my scene. On Sunday, I wrote 3 lines in my journal. 1 kept my boundaries. 2 didn't snap at other people's requests. 3 did everything I could in my zone. I looked at the list and realized I didn't need to add anything. On Wednesday morning, a text came from an unfamiliar number. Daniel, this is Marlene. Let's do this without lawyers. We need to discuss it. The cafe on the corner of Bishop Avenue at 11. I'm alone. 15 minutes. I read it twice. I squeezed the phone in my hand. Anger and emptiness rose up inside me. I opened the Tro folder, took a screenshot, wrote down the time, and forwarded it to Jordan. The answer came a minute later. Don't go. Don't answer. Forward the screen to Detective Cole Peters. Let the police decide. I forwarded it. A detective called a couple of minutes later. Mr. Hale, thank you for the screenshot. Is your mother-in-law asking for a meeting? Yes, at 11. You can't go there. Please don't show up nearby. Will you send me the address and the name of the cafe? Yes. Okay, we'll go in. If it's her, we'll ask questions. You're not a party to this part of the conversation. Sit back and mind your own business. I hung up, set the timer for 20 minutes, and sat down on the mat. 20 squats, 20 push-ups, plank a minute. My head became more even. In the shower, cold water for a minute. I threw on a t-shirt, jeans, took my laptop, and went to the co-working space. At 11, I specially scheduled a call with the contractor. This is a reliable anchor. At 11:07, the detective sent a short message. We're talking to her. I didn't answer. At 11:38, another. We'll need clarification. I'll call later. I went out onto the balcony of the co-working space, where smokers usually stand with coffee. but there was no one there now. I just breathed for a minute. Peters called at 12:15. We met Marlene in a cafe, introduced ourselves, asked her to explain the circumstances of the package at the credit union. She said she was helping with the paperwork because you have a lot of trouble. I asked how she got your signature. She answered vaguely that you've signed forms like this before. We asked her for her bag. Inside, we found a photocopy of your signature cut out on a piece of paper. From the look of it, from some old printed material, plus blank credit union forms. We formalized the seizure and made an inventory. We are now drawing up a search warrant at her place of residence. I understand, I said. Is there anything I can do to help? Later, I will ask you to confirm the sample from where the signature could have been taken. Did you keep something at home with your signature next to her documents? The wedding program and a couple of old postcards. I put everything in the safe. If you have a copy of the program, send us a scan. It is important for us to compare. I took a photo of the program on the table and sent it to him. He thanked me and said he would keep me informed. An hour later, Jordan wrote, "Police stopped Marlene. They confiscated a photocopy of my signature and blank forms." Reply, "Good thing you didn't go. This isn't our round. We'll summarize for the judge and attach the transcripts." At 2 o'clock, Aunt Maria called me. Judging by her voice, she already knew everything. "Danny, what do you have there?" Katie wrote that her mother was humiliated by the police in a cafe. "Did you really call the police on a woman?" "Auntie, I didn't call anyone. The bank check and investigation are proceeding as usual. I filed a report of forgery. From now on, it's their job. I won't comment. It's all so sad. We're a family. Not now. I have a warrant now. I can't discuss it." She sighed and ended the call. I made a note in the journal. Aunt Maria called, confirmed the rules. At 3 o'clock, there was a call from the detective. A search was conducted. 2 more drafts of your signature were found at Marlene's house, one on transparent film, the other on paper. They found a letter to the insurance company with a draft request to change the beneficiaries for one of the policies. Katie is listed as the primary recipient without your signature. We have seized the documents and will attach them to the case. Marlene is detained pending investigation. Her rights have been read. Thank you for the information, officer. We will contact you if we need more confirmation. Please save everything that concerns your previous documents and do not fall for invitations to talk. I hung up and sat down. My shoulders were tense. I remembered Marlene teaching us how to bake cornbread for Thanksgiving and how confidently she dispensed advice to everyone. We'd been to her house hundreds of times. Today, she'd been arrested for carrying my signature on a photocopy in her purse. I wasn't happy. It felt weird and hard. I did 10 push-ups on the couch in the break room, drank some water, and got back to work. Half an hour later, the feed lit up on my phone. Katie posted a story. Against the background of glitter, the caption, "Systemic bullying of women. I'm not afraid to tell the truth." I took a screenshot. Next is her text. "When a man ruins the work of your entire life and the police help the strong." Screenshot. In Madison's comments, an argument began. I saw several questions. Why does the victim invite the aggressor to a meeting if she's afraid? And why does a mother drag her son-in-law's signatures? The comments were divided unevenly. Some supported Katie, some started asking direct questions. I saved everything and closed the app. Sam texted me. "Reading the news. Don't say anything." "How are you?" I replied, reserved. "Working." He sent a fist emoji and a coffee sticker. I smiled and went back to the bug tracker. At the end of the day, I stopped by Jordan's office. He had already printed out the first set of documents. So, he said, "We have your journal, letters from the bank, a recording of a conversation with Alvarez, a police report on Marlene's arrest, photocopies with seizure, stories, and posts. Next, I will file a clarification to the materials with the court. The warrant is not being used for its intended purpose. Pressure through financial levers is confirmed by an attempt at forgery. I do not guarantee quick decisions, but it will be obvious to the judge that you are acting according to the law and the other party is not. What should I say if her friends call me and put pressure on me? 3 phrases. First, I can't discuss it, I have a warrant. Second, any questions for the lawyer? Third, I'm recording this call. Calmly, without explanation. Okay. He looked at me carefully. How are you? I'm angry and tired and ashamed that all this is happening next to my name. These feelings are normal. The main thing is not to change the rules. You are holding up well. At home, I heated up the soup and made toast. I didn't feel like eating, but I forced myself to. I put the plate in the dishwasher, wiped the table. I sorted the newspapers into folders, copies of the protocols into the safe, printouts of screenshots into the court folder, and correspondence into the bank. I did it without emotion. It was just work. Alvarez called in the evening. Update. Our security department has filed a report. We've given the police the CCTV footage of Marlene filling out the form. The footage shows a photocopy of her signature on her desk. That strengthens the case. And one more thing. We've flagged the system without your personal presence. No surety document will move. Thank you. Hold on, Mr. Hale. After the call, I went outside. The neighbors' children were playing. Voices could be heard. I sat down on the steps of the porch. Fatigue was still stirring inside. The next morning, I was at the therapist's office. Caroline asked me how I felt about the news about Marlene. A mixture. I don't wish anyone harm, but I'm not going to cover up other people's decisions. In the shoulders and in the stomach. Let's do an exercise. Tension exhale. And again. Good. Now say, I don't control her actions. I control my steps. I don't control her actions. I control my steps. We sat in silence for a minute. She said it wasn't a magic phrase, but it got back to the facts. We discussed one more thing. How to respond if I was provoked in public. Don't answer, I said. If they break the law, let those who are supposed to deal with it deal with it. Right. After the session, I went to the office. At the reception, the administrator said, a woman came in yesterday. She introduced herself as Katie's mother. She asked if you were here. I told her that we have rules at the entrance and suggested that she contact you through a lawyer. She left quickly. We wrote a note. Thank you. If he shows up again, call 911. We have a warrant. I wrote it down. In the afternoon, a mailing came from the co-working space, a reminder about the ban on aggressive behavior in common areas. I realized that the manager did this for me, but without names. I replied, thanks for the order. I met Layla at a cafe for lunch. She asked how I was. I'm holding on. Katie posted a video yesterday. Layla said carefully, I'm not interfering. Just remember, people change their minds when they see documents. Not all, but many. I don't make plans for other people's opinions, I replied. I make plans for papers. We talked about her kids and school. She asked if she needed a real estate attorney in case Katie started selling off her property. I said I wasn't interfering, but thank you. Detective Peters called me that evening. Status. Marlene was booked as a suspect in attempted forgery. She will be released on her own recognizance until the trial. We have attached a video, photocopies, and a draft letter to the insurance company to the case. Thank you for your promptness with the documents. If we get to court, you will be called as a witness for the "that's not your signature" and "you didn't give permission" part. I will come and tell the truth. That's enough. I hung up. There were new notifications from social networks on my phone, but I didn't open them. I turned on the Do Not Disturb mode, set the alarm for an early rise, and went to take a shower. On Monday afternoon, I was sitting in a conference room by a glass wall. My contractor and I were discussing the migration to a new billing system. My notebook and a bottle of water were on the table. The door was slightly open, so I could hear what was happening in the hallway. Sam was blinking in the chat. Checked in point okay. I was about to answer when suddenly there was a noise in the hallway. Sir, you need to stop at the counter. The administrator Marcus's voice sounded even but harsh. I'm not sir. A familiar voice rose to a shout. I'm Daniel Hale's wife. Where is he? I froze. It was Katie's voice. My heart sank into my throat. I looked at my watch. 1:11 p.m. now, I have to follow the instructions. I took the tro folder from my backpack and went out into the corridor, not to the lobby, but in the opposite direction to the kitchen. There were 2 glass partitions between me and the reception desk, so I couldn't see faces, I only heard voices. Ma'am, we have rules at the entrance, Marcus said calmly. You cannot enter without registering. Get away, Katie shouted. I need my husband. I'm just going to talk. I pulled out my phone, opened the contact, Jordan Park, and wrote briefly, she's in the lobby. I'm leaving the line of sight. We're following procedure. Sent it. Then I approached the co-working manager, Lee, who was just leaving the office. Lee, she's violating the order. Please follow protocol. I'll stay out of it. I'm already calling 911, Lee said, putting the phone to her ear. Madison Lee came out of the elevator with a phone in her hands. I recognized her voice. It sounded loud and confident. We're live, she announced into the phone. This is the man who cut off his wife's cards and is now hiding. See how the system works. Lee looked at Marcus. He stood in front of the aisle and repeated, Ma'am, calm down. The call has already been made. Any contact now is a violation. I walked into the kitchen. No one was there. I poured myself some water, took 4 short breaths in and out, the way the therapist had taught me. My hands were shaking. I set the bottle down on the table, squared my shoulders. My phone vibrated. JP, don't go out. Police are on their way. Stay away. Documents are handy. A couple of minutes later, a confident voice sounded in the lobby. Dallas Police Department. Who's calling? I peered around the corner. 2 officers, a man and a woman in uniform. They had badges that read Gerald and Nguyen. Lee showed them a copy of the warrant I'd left at the front desk earlier. Ma'am, Officer Gerald said to Kathy, we have a copy of the temporary restraining order. You cannot come in here and have conversations with Mr. Hale. I want to discuss money, Katie said. This is not an attack. I just want respect. That's a violation of the warrant, Officer Nguyen replied. We'll ask you to come out with an escort. Madison held the phone higher. Look how they drag out a woman who just wants to talk. Lower your voice and step back to the wall, Nguyen said calmly. Broadcast live from outside. We have rules inside the building. Lee noticed me and shook her head slightly. Stay away. I nodded. Officer Gerald walked over to me himself. Mr. Hale? Yes. Are you ready to show your copy of the order and quickly answer 2 questions? I handed over the folder. He flipped through the first page and looked at the date. Did you initiate the call? No. I reported the violation to the manager. Have you spoken to your wife right now? No. I went out of sight. Thank you. Stay here. In the lobby, Katie switched to a quick tone. He ruined my business. He has to talk. I have nothing to fear. Ma'am, Officer Gerald repeated, you are in violation of the terms. We'll get to the paperwork next. Come on. She argued for a few more seconds. Then the officers took her by the elbows and calmly led her to the door. A patrol car was already parked outside. Madison walked next to her and spoke into the phone. We see the police. Then the sound disappeared. Apparently, Officer Nguyen asked to stop filming inside. 5 minutes later, Gerald returned to me. We've issued an arrest for violating a warrant. No handcuffs, calmly. You need to write a short statement. Was in the office, didn't seek contact, asked the administration to call the police. Will that do? Yes. We walked to the counter. Lee gave me an incident report form from the co-working space. I filled it out with the facts, time, who was there, what they did. I signed it. The officers took a copy. If we get a summons for a violation, we'll let you know, Nguyen said. Keep copies and don't engage in conversation. Got it. Thank you. When they left, Lee placed her palm on the table. We will add it to the no entry in the system. We have a photo. All employees are aware. And one more thing. We will compensate your team for a day if someone was unable to work because of the noise. Thank you. It is important to me that the guys have a calm office. I walked back into the conference room, my fingers still shaking. I opened my laptop and wrote Jordan the facts. Time, officers' names, brief summary. I attached a photo of the completed co-working report. The answer came almost immediately. Excellent. This is exactly the kind of case where your silence is strength. Save the notes. I'll add it to the materials. Sam looked into the room. Everything is fine. Yes, already. The police arrived and took him away. Do you want to go for a walk? Give me 10 minutes. I'll finish the call and go out. I returned to the contractor via video link. I briefly apologized for the interruption and brought the meeting to an end. It was important to do the usual work so that the day would not be reduced to one event. Half an hour later, Sam and I walked around the block. He didn't ask any unnecessary questions. How are you now? The adrenaline is still running, but everything is according to the rules. Thanks for being there. I'm here. And yes, you did the right thing by not going out into the lobby. People love scenes. The court doesn't. We split up at the entrance. I went up to the floor and received an email from the co-working membership department. We have updated your security card. If you need an additional guard at the entrance for a couple of days, let me know. I replied, please assign one for the next 2 days. They confirmed. An Instagram notification was flashing on my phone. Madison had started recording police brutality in Dallas. I didn't turn it on. I opened the screen recording app, turned on capture, and scrolled through without sound to save a copy. In the video, they stood at the sidewalk. Madison spoke into the camera in a casual tone, but the comments were full of specific questions. If you're scared, why come to the office? Why is it okay to violate a warrant? I saved the video and screenshots and sent them to Jordan. Detective Peters called at 3 o'clock. I saw the report on the call to your co-working space. The officers acted according to procedure. We'll add this to the case. You did well not to engage in conversation. Thank you, officer. If any of your colleagues were witnesses, ask the co-working space to make a summary note with names for us. I asked, they are cooking. After the conversation, I took the car to a bike shop on Greenville Avenue to pick up my bike after it was serviced. It smelled of rubber and oil inside. The mechanic, a guy named Tro, rolled my bike out. I tightened the brakes and lubricated the chain. He said, how are you? Ready to ride. My head is overloaded. Then to Katy Trail in the evening. It's empty on weekdays, an hour, and it will be easier. I'll take note. While he was filling out the check, a message came from an unsaved number on his phone. You got what you wanted. I hope you're happy. I didn't bother checking who it was. I took a screenshot and sent it to Jordan. The response was short. Save. Don't reply. At home, I changed into sports clothes, got on my bike, and rode to the trail. The first kilometer was rough, then it evened out. People were running, someone was walking their dogs. I pedaled and felt the residual tremor in my hands. At the turnaround, I stopped, drank some water, looked at the requests on my phone, not a single important notification. I returned home at a different pace. Caroline, the therapist, called in the evening. We arranged an unscheduled quick call. How are you? My heart was pounding when I heard her voice in the lobby. I wanted to go out and say enough. I didn't. There is anger now, but it doesn't control. What helped? A folder with documents, Lee, officers, a chat with a lawyer, and a bicycle after. Excellent. This is the set of supports. Write them down in large letters on a sheet of paper and hang them in a visible place. When it rolls in, your gaze falls on the sheet, and you do not look for action. They have already been resolved. I posted a note on the fridge. 1, don't go out. 2 notify manager, 3 tro folder, 4 police, 5 Jordan, 6 breathe, 4x4x4x4, 7 drive 10 miles. After the conversation, I opened my email. An official letter from the co-working space arrived. Incident 06. Violation of the order by KH Measures. Temporary security guard. No entry by photo. Staff briefing. Responsible Leah M. I saved the PDF in court. Late in the evening, Sam sent a short message. Dude, half the comments on Madison's stream ask why the victim came to you on her own. The other half get deleted. It's none of your business. Just info. Accepted. No comment. Before going to bed, I called my father. She came to my office today. The police took her away for violating a warrant. Did you hold on? Yes. Good. The main thing is not to get involved. You did everything right. I took off my watch, put my phone on the table, and turned off the sound. I poured myself some water and took a sip. There was no emptiness in my head, there was a calm exhaustion. I wrote in my diary, incident in the co-working space. I did not join. There are papers. There is support. I rode a bike. That's enough for one line. The next morning, the membership manager called me. We added a security guard to the entrance for 2 days. If you need to extend it, let me know. The team supports you. Thank you. I appreciate order. I hung up and looked at the sheet of paper on the fridge with my pillars. They worked yesterday, so they will work tomorrow. I added the usual tasks to the daily plan. Code review, meeting with the accountant, grocery shopping. It is important to me that life does not consist only of lawyers and reports. I made an omelet, brewed coffee, checked that the tro folder was in my backpack. I closed the door and went to the office. There was a security guard standing at the reception desk downstairs. He nodded. I nodded back and walked past. It was quiet inside. This is what I strive for every day, a simple, even silence that is maintained by specific steps. The court day started early. I parked on the street outside the courthouse, walked through a metal detector, and put my keys and phone on the belt. The guard checked my file and nodded. The hallway was cool and smelled of paper and coffee from the machine. The board listed the cases. Ours was set for 10:30. Jordan arrived without a 10-minute delay, as always. Gray jacket, thin folder, calm movements. The plan is the same, he said. You speak only on the judge's question. Briefly, no comment on the motives. We have the facts. Violation of the order in the co-working space, an attempt to forge a surety, posts with demands, must support. Everything is printed out and laid out. We took our places on a hard bench against the wall. Next to us, a couple was discussing child support. Across the aisle, a man was leafing through a thick folder with bookmarks. I opened my notebook and, to avoid looking at the door where Katie and her lawyer might appear, wrote 3 lines in large letters. Calm, brief, to the point. My palms were damp. I wiped them on my pants and took 4 slow breaths. Jordan looked at me and nodded. We sat in silence. At 10:25, Alyssa Bloom walked past. Her hair was pulled back, her face expressionless. Behind her, Katie, in a beige jacket. She noticed me, pressed her lips together, and turned away. I looked back at my notebook. I said nothing. Our case was called at 10:32 sharp. We walked in. The judge was a woman in her 50s, wearing glasses, and without unnecessary preamble. The bailiff asked everyone to stand, then we sat down. Jordan laid out 3 plastic files on the table. Alyssa put down her clipboard and a small stack of papers. We have a temporary restraining order, the judge said, and motions from both sides. I'm hearing the defendant. Jordan stood up. Your Honor, he said evenly, our client complied with the warrant to the letter. He did not initiate contact, did not participate in meetings, did not write privately. We have a copy of the co-working space's internal report and a police report on the applicant's violation of the warrant. We also have the credit union's materials, an attempt to extend the surety with a forged signature brought by the applicant's mother. This was recorded by the bank's security services and the police, and an investigation has been opened. In addition, there are publications on social networks in which the applicant and her entourage discuss my client's obligation to continue financing her business. We believe that the warrant was used as a means of pressure, not for its intended purpose, and we ask that it be overturned. With regard to the forgery, we ask the court to send the materials to the district attorney's office. The judge looked at me. Mr. Hale, do you confirm that you did not initiate contact? Yes, Your Honor, I said. I didn't write or call anything. When the warrant was violated in the office, I stood aside and asked the administration to follow protocol. I see, plaintiff. Alyssa Bloom stood up and straightened the folder. Your Honor, she began, my client sought an order due to emotional distress. She saw a threat in the control of the family finances. After the order was issued, Mr. Hale immediately cut her off from the general funds, from the corporate card, stopped her usual transfers. This created a risk for her, the warehouse, suppliers, drivers. She came to the office not for a conflict, but to discuss the minimum support necessary until the settlement. If there were errors in the bank, these are the actions of third parties. We ask that the order be preserved and temporary spousal support be appointed. The judge turned to me. Mr. Hale, before the warrant was issued, did you regularly transfer money to your wife's business? Yes, voluntarily, I said. After the warrant and given the forgery situation and the pressure on social media, I stopped making voluntary transfers and focused on protecting my own responsibility. Did you disconnect it from the map? Yes, she was an authorized user on my account. I removed her access. The card is in my name and my responsibility. The judge looked at the papers. The violation of the warrant in the office is confirmed by the police report. The attempt at forgery is preliminarily confirmed by the bank statement and the transfer of materials to the police. The court draws attention to the fact that the warrant is not an instrument of financial negotiations and not a way to obtain support. It is a temporary measure to prevent a threat. Here I do not see a threat from the defendant. I see compliance with formal requirements and actions within the framework of protecting their financial interests. Alyssa tried to interject. Your Honor, if you will allow me. Thank you, the judge interrupted. About support, that's a separate issue. You can file a proper petition in the marriage case with documents about income, expenses, and needs. You don't need a warrant for that. She put her pen down. So, the court dismisses the temporary restraining order as improperly used. I am forwarding the materials on possible forgery and related actions to the district attorney's office for evaluation. Parties are instructed to refrain from contact outside of representation. Any questions must be addressed through attorneys. If anyone violates these rules, there will be consequences. The status review hearing is scheduled in 6 weeks. Subpoenas will be emailed to you. We stood up. The bailiff announced the end of the hearing. I felt the tension leave my shoulders, not abruptly, but as if after a long workout. Jordan gathered up the folders and looked at me. Breathe, he said quietly. Everything is calm. No emotions to the door and beyond. We walked out into the hallway. Alyssa nodded politely. Katie walked past, pretending I wasn't there. I said nothing. Down in the hall, Jordan asked if we could sit down for a minute. Now the order is this, he said. We are waiting for a letter from the court. On forgery, the police are moving themselves. On possible demands for support, we will answer when they submit the form. They will put pressure on you. Surroundings, posts, hints. You already know how to hold the line. I know, I said. Thank you. And one more thing. Don't discuss the outcome with mutual friends. One fact you can tell anyone who asks. Questions through lawyers. That's enough. We shook hands. He left for the office. I stayed on the bench for another minute, looked at the people coming and going with packages of documents. Then I turned off the airplane mode on my phone. There were 5 missed calls from a number I hadn't saved. It was easier to ignore than before. On the street, I bought a bottle of water at a kiosk, got into my car, and drove to the Up store on the corner to make notarized copies of the decision so I wouldn't have to rely on emails. The notary, a woman in her 40s, looked over the printouts. "You don't need to get an apostille," she said. "Just certify the copies." "Yes. And here's a letter from the co-working space, a police report, and a bank statement, all in one envelope." I left her with a thick package on which I wrote in marker, "Court, cancellation of order." At home, I put it in the safe and recorded it in the journal. Safe, shelf 2, package #7. This is not an obsession. It is a convenience when at night you suddenly need to remember where something is. Then I went to Central Market. I took a dozen fresh eggs, vinegar, a baguette, and greens. I decided to learn how to poach eggs consistently without a video. At the checkout, the cashier asked if I needed help with the bag. I said I could handle it. No talking. At home, I put a saucepan, poured water, added a spoonful of vinegar, and brought it to a near boil. I cracked an egg into a cup, made a funnel with a spoon, and carefully poured it out. I set the timer for 3 minutes. I took it out with a slotted spoon and put it on a paper towel. The yolk held, the white was neat. The second was worse, it spread out. The third came out fine again. I wrote down the time and temperature on the stove in a notebook. After 5 attempts, the result became predictable. This is not about food. This is about an action that can be controlled. In the evening, the neighbor Thomas dropped by. He had a small bag of coffee beans in his hands. "My wife and I took an extra," he said. "I thought you might need it." "Thanks, Tom. There was a trial today. The warrant was dropped. I'm happy for you. If necessary, I'll write to the guys from HOA so that if there's noise on the street because of someone's broadcasts, they'll react faster. It would be nice, but I think this week will do. Thanks for stopping by." We stood by the door, talking about the Cowboys game this weekend. He left. I ground some beans, made a cup of black coffee, and sat on the porch. Cars drove by, someone walked a dog. Inside, I wasn't happy or sad, just calm. By 9 p.m., a letter arrived from Jordan. Operative part, warrant canceled. Receive text tomorrow. On forgery, police have confirmed transfer to DA. Next week, I will prepare a set of template responses to possible requests for pre-trial support. You continue to act as you have. Well done. I replied, accepted. Then I opened my laptop and checked my monthly budget. I removed unnecessary subscriptions and set a limit on the card. I enabled notifications for large amounts in the bank app. I set up an automatic transfer to the mortgage for the first day of the month so as not to be distracted. I like it when the numbers add up without surprises. Before going to bed, I took clean bed linen out of the closet and changed the pillowcases. After days like these, you want physical cleanliness. No gadgets in the bedroom. I moved my charger to the living room. I wrote briefly in my notebook. Court, I kept quiet, spoke on the case. The warrant was withdrawn. Next, the procedure. I crossed out the item, poached eggs 3 out of 5 successful. For some reason, this is also important. The next day, I went to the office early. At the entrance, the security guard who had been posted after the incident greeted me by name. I thanked him. The team's booth had new tasks posted, and the guys were discussing logging. I connected to the code, did a review, wrote a couple of comments. Work was a normal rhythm. At lunch, Sam and I got a burrito at a small Mexican place on the corner. He asked about the trial. The warrant was removed. The judge said the warrant wasn't about finances. Forgery to the DA. Exactly. You're great. I just did what Jordan said. After lunch, I received a letter from the co-working manager. Security until Friday inclusive. Then at your request. I replied that we would extend for 2 more days and rent. I didn't want to turn the office into a fortress. It was enough to be calm. In the evening, I stopped at a sports store, bought a set of rubber bands and a back roller. Working out at home helps when the day is long. At home, I did a warm-up, rolled my back, did push-ups. The tension left my shoulders. The letter arrived at 8:06 m on Monday. Subject: Emergency Spousal Support Request. From Trevor McKinney, Attorney at Law. I opened it in the kitchen while the kettle was boiling. The text was long and confident. Restore previous levels of support. Immediately renew guarantees for business obligations. Otherwise, seek temporary spousal support and sanctions. At the bottom were 3 attachments: a rough estimate of the minimum, a list of expected payments, a schedule to meet at a neutral location. An old wave rose in my chest, anger and fatigue all rolled into one. I closed my laptop, poured myself some water, and did 10 push-ups on the mat by the sink. I opened it again and forwarded the email to Jordan with the note, "Received. Following up on you." A minute later, he responded, "At my place, 11:30. Get 3 months of bank statements, a list of your fixed expenses, and a mortgage statement. No direct responses from you." At 10, I stopped by Priya Patel's place. The accountant was already waiting. On her desk was a printout of Trevor's letter, which I forwarded to her. "They paint the minimum as if your account is bottomless," Priya said. "We need your actual budget and cash reserves, plus a list of expenses you voluntarily cut in the past and the dates you stopped. Let's see some honest numbers." We went through the lines: mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, car payments, co-working. Separately, sports and health, therapist, parental support once a quarter. I put the statement and marked with a marker where there were transfers to her business. The last ones went before the order. "It's important," Priya said. "Don't try to embellish the picture. The judge likes predictability: income, expenses, final balance. Any gifts to the spouse's business in the past are indicated as voluntary. This is not mandatory. And also, they write, restore business guarantees. You are not a corporation. This is their risk, not yours." "I agree," I replied. "I don't need any temporary return to the old rules." Then we prepare a summary. I will write a 2-page cash flow summary. I will give it to you by the evening. At 11:30, I was at Jordan's. He leafed through Trevor's letter, made a few notes in the margins. "It's predictable," he said. "Pressure and an attempt to reach an agreement in words. Our line is the same: no neutral meeting, only the process. We will demand that they first submit a full package: income, assets, expenses, tax returns, statements of her business accounts. Without that, there is nothing to talk about." "What about emergency support?" I asked. "They can drag me to court this week?" "Submit, yes. Receive depends on what they show in numbers and behavior. We have advantages: a canceled warrant, an attempt at forgery at a bank, a violation at a co-working space. They have public statements where your voluntary assistance is called violence. It's all on the table. We will make a response that is tough in form and calm in tone." He pulled out a blank form with the heading, "Response to Demand." "Look," I write, "the client will not discuss financial matters outside the court. Any interim measures will only be granted following a proper motion, with financial declarations from both parties. The client does not intend to act as a guarantor for the plaintiff's business obligations. Any previous transfers were voluntary and have ceased. The plaintiff's side qualifies such support as coercion in its documents and publications. The client will not reproduce behavior that the other side itself describes as harmful." This is an emotionless answer, but it is very clear. I nodded. It became smoother inside. "I still feel uncomfortable," I said. "You read sanctions, obligate, and your body shrinks." "It's fine. You're a human being. That's why we rely on facts and procedures, and emotions in the hall and on the track. By the way, don't abandon the therapist. We signed a power of attorney to request documents from her bank and accounting department." I left him a folder with statements and went to the office. On the way, I dropped in to get a haircut I had been meaning to for a long time. The barber shop on Greenville is owned by Louis, a man in his early 40s who talks little, but to the point. He fastened a paper ribbon around his neck and threw on a black peignoir. "As usual?" he asked. "Yes, and shorter on the sides." He was working with a typewriter. In the mirror, I saw my face without a smile. Louis did not interfere. Halfway through, he asked, "I heard from Thomas that you're getting a divorce. Are you holding up?" I'm holding on, I said. Today, the opponent's lawyer sent me a immediately return everything to how it was. That's not how it works, he said, not taking his eyes off his temple. The way it was is why you got to the way it is now. Those who want to go back usually want to go back at someone else's expense. It looks like it. Do what every normal man does. Sleep, eat, move, pay your bills, and don't poke your nose into other people's. The rest is noise. I smiled for the first time that morning. Thank you, Louis. I don't charge for that, only for the haircut. In the office, I went through the team's tasks, checked 2 pull requests, and responded to the billing contractor. At lunchtime, Marcus from the reception wrote that the security could be removed tomorrow. Quietly, no attempts to enter. I agreed. After lunch, a mailing came from the neighborhood association. Meeting today at 7. On the agenda, noise in the yards, street broadcasts, parking. When I felt that I should be there not to complain, but to establish normal rules. The whole room was filled with people from 2 blocks away. The chair, Mrs. Roberts, opened the meeting. The first item was noise and streaming on the street. A neighbor from Bishop Avenue raised his hand. Last week, a blogger went live, brought people, and they argued loudly. This is disturbing children and those who work from home. We need regulations. Someone suggested banning streams completely. Someone else suggested let them notify in advance. I raised my hand, although I don't like being the first. I'm Daniel from Lakewood Heights, I said. I'm for a rule that applies to everyone. It doesn't matter who's filming or what they're filming. I'm proposing simple things. No live streaming on private streets without the property owner's consent. No filming in common areas after 10 p.m. And if there's a complaint, the first time you get a warning, the second time you call the non-emergency police line. And all of this in writing on the mailing list. No names or references to private stories, added Layla from the neighboring house. We don't need a circus in the results. We need rules. Most nodded. Mrs. Roberts wrote it down, said she would send out a draft of the letter tomorrow. We moved on to parking, party trash, the usual questions. I liked the atmosphere, adults agreeing on order without shouting. After the meeting, a man of about 60 came up to me and introduced himself as Harry. Did you see you in court today? He asked. I was in another courtroom on business. I heard out of the corner of my ear that they dropped your warrant. Keep your back straight. Don't make excuses to anyone on the streets. Thank you, I said. I try to speak only through lawyers. At home, I found a letter from Trevor in my inbox. Confirm that you are willing to discuss temporary payments this week. If you refuse, we will file a motion. We warn you that we will seek sanctions for cutting off funding. I did not respond. 10 minutes later, Jordan responded, copying me. Your letter received. Our client does not negotiate outside the procedural framework. We expect from you a proper motion and a full set of financial declarations, including reports of your client's business. In addition, we inform you that the client does not consider guaranteeing the plaintiff's commercial obligations. We ask that further correspondence be conducted in a business-like tone without threats. Not a single unnecessary phrase. I read it twice and felt my breathing even out. That evening, Priya sent me a cash flow summary. I printed it out, signed the first page, the truth and nothing but the truth. I put it in the safe. I sent a copy to Jordan. He wrote, "Great, this will be our base document." To change my mind, I went to the Katy Trail. I set a moderate pace. At mile 3, a man in running gear pulled up next to me. We held the pace in silence for about 10 minutes. Then he said, "Good rhythm." "Thank you," I replied. This is the first time I've seen someone run without looking at their phone. I definitely don't want it today. He chuckled, picked up the pace, and walked ahead. I kept up my pace, then turned home. Shower, simple garlic paste, glass of water. Left my phone in the other room. The next morning, Jordan called at 8. Trevor sent another letter. The tone is softer. He writes that he is ready for a mediator. I am not against a mediator in principle, but only after exchanging financial packages. We are not going to talk eyeball to eyeball. Agree. And one more thing. We are preparing our own set of demands. A ban on any actions on your behalf without your personal presence. A ban on mentioning you in advertising materials and social networks of her business, if support is implied there. This is not censorship. These are boundaries. Okay? Let's do it this way. I went to the office. A young courier stopped me in front of the entrance. "For Daniel Hale," he said, and handed over an envelope. Inside was a notice of a preliminary hearing date for the forgery case. I took a picture and sent it to Detective Peters and Jordan. From Peters came, "Noted. We'll call later to prepare." From Jordan, writing down in calendar, "No further action at this time." During the day, a woman called me and introduced herself as Trevor's secretary. "Mr. Hale, let me clarify. Are you definitely refusing to meet today at a neutral location? Any questions through my lawyer?" I said. "I understand. I'll pass it on." I hung up and wrote in the log, "Secretary's call. Answer only through lawyer." My mood dropped, but not much. I took a short walk around the block, bought myself some soup at the nearest cafeteria. Simple things are returned. In the evening, my father wrote, "I'm in town for the day. Dinner." We hadn't seen each other for a couple of months. I agreed. We met in a quiet steakhouse without music. He ordered a non-alcoholic beer. I ordered water and fish. He listened while I briefly recounted the last few days. He didn't interrupt. "What's the most annoying thing you're having right now?" he asked. "The self-assured tone in the letters," I said, as if the past transfers were an obligation, and as if they knew better than I did what to do with my money. "You're not a charity. You're a guy who works and pays his bills. Everything else is talk. Stay the course and sleep. People do stupid things without sleep." On the way out, he gave me a big hug and said, "I'm proud of the way you're handling this." I drove home and felt calm instead of empty. The morning began with a notice on the door. A yellow sticky note from the warehouse management company. "Access will be restricted. Property is being seized by the landlord in accordance with the terms of the agreement due to non-payment." Underneath was an envelope with a copy of a letter addressed to Katie's company. I took a photo, put the envelope on the table, and wrote to Jordan, "Warehouse property is being seized. Letter to her company. I have a copy." A minute later, acknowledged, "You are out of this story. Keep a copy and do not come to the site." The call came an hour later. The man introduced himself as the complex's manager, Rob Flynn. "Mr. Hale, good afternoon. I'm calling you only because in the old contract you were listed as the emergency access contact. Let me clarify. We're closing the warehouse on Thursday, taking the furniture to the supplier under the terms of the delay. You don't need to come out." "I understand," I replied. "I am not a party. Please record all actions in writing. If you need her lawyer's contact information, I'll send it to you. Write down my email. I will send a formal notification." He sent it. I forwarded it to Jordan and put it in the landlord folder. The feeling of someone else's ending next to my name was unpleasant, but I kept the rule: do not interfere and do not save. At lunchtime, I went to the parcel drop-off point. The moment came with the boxes of her clothes that I had folded at the beginning of this whole story. At the counter stood a girl named Cassie, her badge shining. "2 boxes," I said. "Delivered to law firm, attention, Alyssa Bloom. Signature required." "We'll do it. Do you need insurance?" "No extra options. Just receipts and confirmation." I filled out the form, indicated the address of Alyssa's office, put the inventory inside: clothing, shoes, accessories, no valuables. Cassie pasted barcodes, gave 2 receipts with tracking numbers. "The recipient will sign on the courier's tablet. You will receive a notification," she said. "Excellent. Thank you." I left with a slight sense of accomplishment. Not heroism, just order. Other people's things to their representative. Nathan called in the afternoon. I was driving past Bishop Avenue. There were trucks at the showroom. The landlord had taken the furniture out. There were papers on the door, and it was empty inside. Got it. Thanks for the information, I replied. I won't go there. He sent a photo. I looked at it for a second and closed it. The photo showed an open door with bare shelves inside. I had no questions. In the evening, I met with Priya's accountant and we briefly reconciled the budget. You see the dynamics, she said. Expenses have become stable. After a couple of months, the cushion will level out. Don't touch the reserve, and don't take on other people's debts out of pity. I don't, I answered. Sometimes it pulls, but I hold on. She smiled. You have learned to say no in numbers. This is something that men are less able to do than it seems. The next day, Marcus from reception caught me at the coffee machine. A man came in this morning asking about Katie, introduced himself as the decorator, Jacob. I gave him your lawyer's email. He said, thank you, and left without making a fuss. Okay, I said. If more appear, do the same. After lunch, Sam sent me a LinkedIn screenshot in a PM. Tyler Reed posted an update. Joined a new project in Plano. Launching October. Looking for contractors. The photo showed him in a blue jacket in front of a construction site. Sam added only, no comment. I replied, saved. And indeed, no comment. Let him live his life. By evening, a notification came from the delivery service. The recipient has signed. I saved the receipts and wrote to Jordan. Boxes have been handed over. Confirmation is available. He replied, excellent. The household is closed in a civilized manner. Detective Peters called on Friday. Quick update. The preliminary hearing for the forgery case is set for next month. Marlene is out on bail. We got a video from the warehouse. She was with her daughter when they tried to bring the documents to the credit union. That strengthens our case. We'll call you for a quick statement if needed. I'll come, I said. Tell me when. After the conversation, I went to the pool for a workout I hadn't swum for a long time. I did 20 laps, my breathing was even, my shoulders relaxed. I realized that my head rested better in the water than on the treadmill. In the locker room, a man of about 45 came up to me. We had crossed paths in the gym a couple of times. You're Daniel, right? I'm Omar. We're neighbors across the street. If you need a ride somewhere for a couple of hours, call me. I don't like it when people are having a circus and there's no one to help. Thank you, Omar, I said. I'm fine, but I appreciate it. On Saturday morning, Layla sent a text. Green Moss Studio in Richardson has a story. Welcome to Team Katie. I think she's their assistant. I asked her not to forward it, but I saved the photo. It showed a green moss wall and a caption from the studio owner, learning something new every day. I felt conflicted. On the one hand, she had a place to work. On the other, it was an admission that the old pattern was over. I wrote in my journal, she has a new job, that's a fact. It's good for everyone. I won't comment. That afternoon, I went to Home Depot to pick up some light bulbs and a bracket kit. At home, I hung a new shelf above my desk and arranged the folders so that the ones I used most were at eye level. One for court, one for bank, one for therapy and health, and one for home. Keeping things simple helped me avoid getting lost in my feed. On Sunday, I went to White Rock Lake. The loop was 10 miles. Families with strollers, runners, fishermen sitting on benches along the water. I kept my pace. On the last mile, an older man on a hybrid bike caught up with me. The weather is fine, he said. Yes, I answered. We drove to the parking lot in silence. He raised his hand in a farewell gesture. I nodded. That evening, I met Sam and his wife, Kira, on the porch of their house. They invited me to a simple dinner in the yard. Grilled chicken, corn, salad. No one asked about the details of the business. We talked about movies and the upcoming Cowboys game. When Kira cleared away the plates, Sam asked quietly, if someone from her new job called tomorrow and started saying, we need to support the transition period, what would you say? I am not a party. All questions should be addressed to her lawyer. And I'll hang up. Here's the stencil. It works. I got home and checked my email. It was from Jordan. Trevor sent a soft clarification. Our side is open to a mediator. He replied, only after the full package. He also asks not to interfere with the sale of the remainder. He wrote, we do not interfere. That's how we live. I replied, okay, I'm out of it. On Monday, I received a letter from the showroom landlord. The contract has been terminated. The premises have been vacated. The remaining furniture has been confiscated in accordance with the contract. A photo of the empty hall and a report were attached to the letter. I saved it in a folder and closed my laptop. That was the end of the business part of their story. I met Louis at the barbershop that afternoon, but not for a haircut. I just stopped by to say hello. He was nearby. He asked, how's the showroom? Closed. The landlord took out the rest. So you have -1 more irritant. This is true. He shrugged. The world sometimes puts the dots itself. Just don't interfere. On the way to the office, I stopped at a small coffee shop in Richardson where Katie and I had grabbed cappuccinos a couple of times on our way to client meetings. I sat by the window, got a black coffee and a sandwich. At the next table, 2 young women were discussing something about moss on the walls. I heard the name of the studio Layla had mentioned. I didn't turn my head. I didn't need confirmation from my seat. I sipped my coffee and thought about how life goes on. No hard words, no explanations. Just on. That evening, I received an email from Priya with a quick tax summary. Quarterly expenses down 18%. Reserves up. Don't touch 401k. I responded, accepted, and set a reminder to review my budget at the end of the month. Ron, the driver, wrote me last night. Briefly, the company has closed. The guys are looking for a way to collect debts. If you know of any free resources, send them to me. I thought for a second. Then I wrote, check out Legal Aid of Northwest Texas. They have consultations on labor issues. I am not a party. Good luck. He replied, thank you. I recorded the correspondence. I do not solve someone else's problem, but it is normal to show the direction. The next day, I received confirmation from the delivery. The second box had also been received. Attorney Alyssa sent a short. Received. Given to the client. No notes. And good. After lunch, the co-working space sent out a letter. Starting from the 1st, a rule will be introduced. No filming in common areas without permission. Raised voices will be grounds for disabling the pass. It was a general rule, but I knew where it was coming from. I replied, thank you for the clear rules. That evening, I invited my father to dinner. He came on a weekday. He had a meeting in Dallas. I fried fish, made a salad, put bread on the table. We ate in silence. Then he said, I saw the news about the showroom closing. How do you feel? Mixed. I feel sorry for the people who worked, and I understand that I shouldn't have had to drag it out. I'm glad that everything is going without my participation. So, progress. Keep up the same course. We talked about work. He showed me a photo of his old bike, witch restored. Before leaving, he looked around the house. Clean and calm. Keep it that way. Over the weekend, I signed up for a short cooking class at the community center, Slow Breakfasts. There were 8 of us, and the instructor taught us how to make omelets and French toast according to the workday schedule. I followed the instructions without being creative. At the end, we sat down at the table, ate quietly, and discussed who worked where. No one asked about the courts. It was a normal Saturday. On Sunday, I sorted out the old boxes of wires, took the excess out to the garage, and planned out the week. There was a newsletter from Madison in my inbox. She had renamed the old post, My Friend's Story, to We All Learn from Mistakes, and removed specific references. The tone became cautious. There were few comments. I saved the screenshots and put an end to it. The conflict in the feed was dying down. Before going to bed, I checked the safe, updated the inventory. Package, warehouse closing, landlord's acts, receipts for the delivery of boxes. Closed it. Set the alarm. No one's phrases were spinning in my head. I thought about how tomorrow morning I wanted to go to the pool again, and in the evening to call Sam about Sunday's match. 6 months have passed. I have a clear rhythm: office and sports on weekdays, cycling or swimming on weekends, and a meeting with a therapist every 2 weeks. The budget is holding up, the cushion is growing, there are fewer emotional letters in the mail and more regular bills. The house is quieter. I no longer wake up from the vibration of my phone in the middle of the night. The legal part also fell into place. In the Marlene case, I was invited to the district attorney's office for a short deposition. I arrived at the appointed time. The reception area smelled of toner and paper folders. I was seated in a windowless room with a tape recorder on the table. "Tell me," asked the assistant prosecutor, "is this signature yours?" "No." I confirm. "Did you provide signature samples to the bank?" "Yes." 10 minutes, and that's it. No long speeches. On the way out, they told me, "If we need a court, we'll call." I went outside and went to the office. For me, it was a work matter, not a news story. We also tried with a mediator. Their side insisted on online. We connected: me, Jordan, Trevor, and a neutral mediator, a man with gray temples and a calm voice. The mediator asked the parties to briefly outline expectations. Trevor said about a minimum for the transition period and a duty to maintain the usual level. Jordan replied that without a financial package, there was nothing to discuss. The mediator suggested taking a break, exchanging documents, and coming back in a week. A week later, we already had our papers, and they had general words and vague figures. The session ended in 20 minutes. We did not argue. We closed our laptops and each went about our business. Since then, the topic of emergency support has not come up. If it comes up again, we will respond in the form. Meanwhile, Katie has secured a position at Green Moss Studio. I was told this not in the feed, but through mutual friends. We saw her at the reception, running around with invoices, carrying samples. I wrote in my diary, "Settles in good, separate life good." Tyler is active on LinkedIn, writing about a new project and some kind of affiliate program. It doesn't bother me. These are not my tasks. Madison switched to recipes and life hacks. About abuse, she is silent now. Old posts with direct hints disappeared, new ones about coffee and a dog. I saved a couple of final screenshots and stopped following. In the spring, I return to running, but I mostly choose to ride a bike. Once a week, I go to the Katy Trail early in the morning, when there are few people. It's easier to breathe. Sometimes I ride alone, sometimes I join a group from a nearby bike shop. The guys keep a steady pace and don't bother anyone with conversations. After the ride, I stop at a small bakery on the corner, grab a hot baguette, and walk home. The work is moving steadily. We closed a large release. The team was transferred to a new billing. Sam jokes that a clean log on production works better than any therapy. I do not argue. When the system predictably reacts to your actions, the head calms down. Life in the neighborhood improved too. The HOA put the rules in writing: no live streaming in residential areas without permission, silence after 10, complaints through the non-emergency police line. After that mailing, no one came to us with phones. At the summer meeting, I helped lay out chairs and carry water. Neighbors discussed the lawn and trash from picnics. No loud topics. My therapist and I moved from weekly sessions to biweekly. Caroline suggested we do a midterm review. "What has changed?" she asked. I stopped making excuses even in my head. There are agreements, I follow them. There are boundaries, I keep them. Less, what if, more, what next? Where is the tension left? Sometimes I get angry when I see the confident tone in the letters from their lawyer. I don't answer, but inside I feel a twitch. What do you do when you get a twitch? First, paper. I write to Jordan, "Got it." Then the body, running, cycling, push-ups. Then life, cooking dinner, washing dishes, putting papers in their places. It helps. She nodded and said that this was the base that kept her going for a long time. One Saturday, I was helping my neighbor Tom fix his squeaky garage door. We were lubricating the hinges and adjusting the spring. He asked, I heard your ex has a permanent job now. How are you? Calm down. It's best for everyone. I'm happy for you, and for her too, to be honest. When people have something to do, they think less about other people's money. We secured the last bolts. The door stopped creaking. Tom extended his hand. Come to the game in the evening. Our guys are coming. I'll stop by for a while. I stayed at the game longer. We argued about tactics, ate wings, laughed at unsuccessful plays. When the team lost at the end, I caught myself not getting angry. I just changed the channel and went home. It's a small thing, but it shows how the brain works. Early in the summer, a letter arrived from the court, the date of Marlene's trial. I marked it on my calendar and warned my superiors that I would be unavailable for half a day. On the day of the trial, we gathered in a small courtroom. I sat in the witness box and spoke briefly. The judge asked a few clarifying questions. Marlene's lawyer tried to deflect the matter, but the judge brought me back to the facts. By the end of the day, it was clear. The matter would move to the settlement stage. I left the building, got into my car, and drove to the lake. I sat on a bench, drank some water, and simply said nothing. I had no desire to call anyone. I sent Jordan a pass and drove home. That same evening, there was a call from an unknown number. The voice was calm and low. "This is Ed Carter," the man said. "Katie's father." I was silent for a second and then answered. "I'm listening to you. I wanted to say one thing. You chose the right line. I did it differently when I was in your place with another person and different circumstances. I tried to please everyone, tried to smooth things over. I paid for it long and hard. I'm glad you didn't repeat my mistakes." He chose his words simply, without pathos. He paused as if he didn't want to bring down the whole history of his decisions on me. "Thank you," I said. "I'm not looking for someone else's approval, but I appreciate your call." "I don't interfere and I don't justify anyone," he added. "Marlene and I haven't lived together for many years. I see the news like everyone else. If you ever need a man-to-man talk without advice, you can call. I don't promise miracles. I can only listen." "Got it. Thank you." We said goodbye. I sat down at the table and wrote in my notes. Ed Carter, called, summary, maintained line, maintained contact. It's my habit to record important conversations, not for the court, for memory. By autumn, I realized that home had become a place I longed to be. I renovated the backyard. I put in 2 simple chairs and a narrow table, hung lamps on a wire. No designer inventions, but comfortable. In the evenings, I go out there with a book or just a clay mug of tea. Sometimes my father comes, sometimes Sam with Kira, sometimes I am alone. In the silence, you can hear the street going about its business. Cars, neighbors' footsteps, a distant train. These are ordinary sounds that were previously drowned out by the noise from the tape. I'm back in cooking classes at the community center. Now I'm learning how to cook a steak properly in moderation. The instructor says, "Don't touch it too much, let the temperature do its job." I smile. This advice is useful not only in the kitchen. Katie and I don't talk. We don't write to each other. It's not hostility, it's distance. If papers come, there will be lawyers. If signatures are needed, they will be with me only. I have nothing more to add. One evening, walking home along the Katy Trail, I decided to stop at an old coffee shop on Bishop Avenue. There was a girl working inside I didn't know. I got an Americano and sat against the wall. At the next table, 2 people were arguing about the cost of remodeling. In the back, someone was ordering cookies. Same old. I thought, there is no new life in the lofty sense. There is an ordinary life where you are responsible for your decisions, don't take on someone else's, and do what you have to do. When you do that, it's easier to breathe. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.